Hello everyone, welcome to Theorywise. Today we are going to discuss Edgar Allan Poe's famous poem To Helen. Poe was an American short story writer, poet, critic, and editor who is famous for his cultivation of mystery and the macabre. His tale, The Murders in the Rue Morgue, 1841, initiated the modern detective stories, and the atmosphere in his tales of horror is unrivaled in American fiction. His The Raven (1845) numbers among the best-known poems in the national literature. To Helen, however, is the first of two poems to carry that name written by Poe. The 15-line poem was written in honor of Jane Stannard, the mother of a childhood friend. It was first published in the 1831 collection Poems of Edgar A. Poe. It was subsequently reprinted in the March 1836 issue of The Southern Literary Messenger. The final, revised version appeared in the 1845 collection The Raven and Other Poems. Poe wrote To Helen as a reflection on the beauty of Mrs. Stannard, Jane Stannard of Richmond, who died in 1824. She was the mother of one of Poe's school classmates, Robert Stannard. When Robert invited Edgar in 1823, Poe was greatly taken with the 27-year-old woman, who is said to have urged him to write poetry. Poe later confessed that she was his first real love. The theme of this short poem is the beauty of a woman with whom Poe became acquainted when he was 14. Apparently, she treated him kindly and may have urged him, or perhaps inspired him, to write poetry. Beauty, as Poe uses the word in the poem, appears to refer to the woman's soul as well as her body. On the other hand, he represents her as Helen of Troy, the quintessence of physical beauty, at the beginning of the poem. On the other hand, he represents her as Psyche, the quintessence of soulful beauty, at the end of the poem. In Greek, Psyche means soul. In this poem, as the title suggests, Poe addresses Helen, by whom he means Helen of Troy, reputed to be the most beautiful woman in this classical world. She was the face that launched 1,000 ships, in Christopher Marlowe's famous line about her from his play Dr. Faustus. Helen's beauty, Poe tells us in the first stanza, reminds him of the boats, that is barks, of classical times, especially those boats which set sail for victory. Here the word Nysian or Nikean has been interpreted by critics as a nod to Nike, the god, or rather the Greek god of victory. These boats then may be the very ships that were launched to fight the Trojan War. The weary, wayworn wanderer, a delicious piece of alliteration, may refer to Odysseus, who, after the Trojan War was over, made the long and eventful journey home to his native shore. This is, of course, where we get the word Odyssey from, or it may refer to any such wanderer traveling across the oceans in classical times. Now, let us check some important points. Helen here is an allusion to Helen of Troy in Greek mythology. Helen, the wife of King Menelaus of Greece, was the most beautiful woman in the world. After a Trojan prince named Paris abducted her, the Greeks declared war on the Trojans. Fighting a 10-year battle that ended in victory and the restoration of Greek honor, Helen returned to Greece with Menelaus. Nysian, of or from Nicaea, a city in ancient Bithynia, now part of present-day Turkey, near the site of the Trojan War. And the word barks. Barks here small sailing vessels. Let's go to the next stanza. In the second stanza, Poe likens himself to the wanderer returning home. Helen's hyacinth hair has been interpreted as being black based on Poe's reference in his story Ligeia to black hair as hyacinthine. Hyacinth provides another classical reference. He was a youth beloved by Apollo. Her classic face reinforces the sense of her classical beauty. The Naiad air suggests that Helen is nymph-like, ethereal. She has the airs and mannerisms of a sea-dwelling nymph. The fact that Helen's beauty has brought Poe home to Greece and Rome suggests not only that he has been reminded of the magic and beauty of classical civilization, but also he recognizes it as the cradle of all Western civilization. After all, tragedy, comedy, philosophy, and much else were either invented or perfected and named by the ancient Greeks. The last two lines of this stanza, to the glory that was Greece and the grandeur that was Rome. These are, or these last two lines, beginning with the glory that was, are among the most frequently quoted lines in the world of literature. Writers and speakers quote these lines to evoke the splendor of classical antiquity. The alliteration of glory, grace, and grandeur helps to make the lines memorable. In this stanza, the word wont is the meaning of this word wont is accustomed to, and the word naiad. Naiads were minor nature goddesses in Greek and Roman mythology. They inhabited and presided over rivers, lakes, streams, and fountains. In the final stanza of the poem, Poe likens Helen to a statue, again a symbol of classical beauty, as he views her standing in the alcove of a window with an agate lamp. Agate is a crystalline rock. The word brilliant, meaning shining bright, and the agate lamp in Helen's hand both reinforce the literal meaning of her name, bright. But the agate lamp is also another classical allusion. It was Psyche, personification of the soul, who carried such a lamp. She awakened the sleeping Cupid, god of love, when a drop of oil from her lamp fell on him as he slept. It is as though Helen has awakened Poe's appreciation of beauty, but also, like the wakened Cupid, his capacity for love. Poe's final reference to Greece as the Holy Land reclaims the title from its crusading connotations, where it referred to Jerusalem. The true Holy Land for Poe is the original seat of Western art and poetry, and Helen reignites his love of such things. So, indeed, Poe reminds us that Western poetry itself really begins not only in ancient Greece, but with a story about the Trojan War, namely Homer's epic poem The Iliad, which focuses on the last few days in the conflict, a conflict that began when the Greek Helen was abducted by Paris, the Prince of Troy. That's all for today. Please like, share and comment on my video and do subscribe my channel. Thank you.